The autumn rain hammered against the windows of Velvet Nights, one of Chicago's most exclusive clubs, creating a rhythmic percussion that seemed to match Maya's racing heartbeat. She pressed herself against the marble pillar near the VIP section, her emerald dress clinging to her trembling frame as she desperately scanned the crowd for an escape route. "There you are, baby." The voice that had once made her feel safe now sent chills down her spine. Marcus emerged from behind a group of laughing socialites, his perfectly styled blonde hair gleaming under the club's neon lights. His blue eyes, once warm and loving, now held a cold possessiveness that made Maya's skin crawl. "Marcus, I told you we're done," Maya whispered, backing away slowly. Her fingers clutched her small purse so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Please, just leave me alone." "Come on, don't be dramatic." Marcus stepped closer, his expensive cologne mixing with the scent of whiskey on his breath. "We had one fight. Couples fight. It doesn't mean anything," but Maya knew better. It hadn't been just one fight. It had been months of Marcus checking her phone, following her to work, showing up uninvited at her apartment. The final straw had been when she'd found the tracking app he'd installed on her phone without her knowledge. "It means everything," she said, her voice growing stronger despite her fear. "I don't want to see you anymore." Marcus's jaw tightened, and Maya saw that familiar flash of anger in his eyes, the same look that had preceded their last, terrifying argument. "You don't get to decide that, Maya. We're perfect together." "You're just confused." The music pounded around them, but Maya felt like she was trapped in a bubble of silence with this man who refused to accept rejection. Other clubgoers danced and laughed nearby, completely oblivious to her distress. She glanced around frantically, looking for security, for friends, for anyone who might help. That's when she saw her. A woman standing alone at the far end of the bar, partially hidden in shadows. Even from a distance, Maya could see she was stunning. Raven black hair cascaded over one shoulder, and she wore a form-fitting black dress that screamed both elegance and danger. But it wasn't her beauty that caught Maya's attention. It was her commanding presence, the way she seemed to own the space around her. "Maya, are you even listening to me?" Marcus grabbed her wrist, his grip tight enough to leave marks. "We're going home, now!" Panic surged through Maya's veins. In that moment, pure desperation drove her to make the most impulsive decision of her life. Without thinking, she broke free from Marcus's grip and rushed toward the mysterious woman at the bar. "I'm so sorry," Maya breathed as she reached the stranger. "Please, just play along." Before the woman could respond, Maya rose on her tiptoes and pressed her lips against hers. The kiss was meant to be brief, just convincing enough to make Marcus believe she was with someone else. But the moment their lips met, something electric shot through Maya's entire body. The stranger's lips were soft but firm, and instead of pulling away, she seemed to lean into the kiss. Maya felt strong hands settle on her waist, pulling her closer. The woman tasted like expensive wine and something indefinably dangerous. For a moment, Maya forgot about Marcus, forgot about her fear, forgot about everything except the intoxicating sensation of this unexpected kiss. When they finally broke apart, Maya found herself staring into the most piercing gray eyes she'd ever seen. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Like storm clouds before lightning strikes, the woman's expression was unreadable. But Maya caught something that looked almost like amusement, flickering in those steel-gray depths. "Well," the stranger said, her voice low and smooth with just a hint of an accent Maya couldn't place. "That was unexpected." Maya's cheeks burned with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to— Maya!" Marcus's angry voice cut through her apology. He was striding toward them, his face red with rage. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The mysterious woman's eyes shifted to Marcus, and Maya felt the temperature around them drop several degrees. There was something predatory in the way the stranger assessed Marcus, like a wolf sizing up potential prey. "Is there a problem here?" the woman asked, stepping slightly in front of Maya. Her voice remained calm, but there was an underlying steel that made Marcus falter mid-step. "This is between me and my girlfriend," Marcus said, but his voice had lost some of its earlier confidence. "Ex-girlfriend," Maya corrected quickly. "And she was just leaving with me," the mysterious woman interrupted smoothly. She turned to Maya, and despite everything, Maya felt her heart skip a beat. Weren't you, darling? Maya stared at the striking woman before her, still feeling the lingering electricity from their unexpected kiss. The stranger's gray eyes held secrets that both thrilled and terrified her. But right now, this beautiful enigma represented safety from Marcus's suffocating obsession. Yes, Maya heard herself say, surprising even herself with the conviction in her voice. I was. Marcus's face contorted with fury. You can't be serious, Maya. You don't even know this woman. What's her name? Maya's mind went blank. She realized she had no idea who she'd just kissed, who she was now claiming to be leaving with. Panic began to set in, but before she could stammer out a response, the mysterious woman extended her hand with elegant confidence. Victoria, she said simply, her voice carrying an authority that seemed to fill the space around them. Victoria Castellano. The moment she spoke her last name, Maya noticed something strange happen. A man in a dark suit who had been standing nearby suddenly straightened, his hand moving instinctively toward his jacket. Another patron at a nearby table glanced over with what looked like recognition mixed with fear. Even the bartender, who had been casually mixing drinks, now watched their interaction with heightened attention. But Marcus, oblivious to the subtle shift in atmosphere, pressed forward. Look, Victoria, or whatever your name is, Maya and I have history. Real history. You're just some random hookup she's using to make me jealous. Victoria's expression remained perfectly calm, but Maya caught the slight tightening around her eyes. I assure you, Victoria said, her voice dropping to a dangerously soft whisper. I am nobody's random anything. Maya, come on, Marcus continued, reaching for her arm again. Stop this ridiculous game and let's go home. This time Victoria moved with lightning speed. Her hand shot out and caught Marcus's wrist before he could touch Maya, her grip firm enough to make him wince. She said no, Victoria stated matter-of-factly. In my experience, that's usually where the conversation ends. Let go of me, Marcus demanded, trying to pull free, but Victoria's grip didn't budge. I don't know who you think you are, but I think, Victoria interrupted, her voice now carrying a razor-sharp edge. You should be very careful about your next words. Maya watched in fascination as Marcus's bravado began to crumble. There was something about Victoria's presence, the way she held herself, that spoke of genuine power. This wasn't just confidence. This was the bearing of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. Is everything all right here, Ms. Castellano? A deep voice interrupted the tense moment. Maya turned to see a massive man in an impeccably tailored black suit approaching them. His dark eyes surveyed the situation with professional assessment, and Maya noticed the slight bulge under his jacket that suggested he was armed. Everything's fine. Dante, Victoria replied without taking her eyes off Marcus. This gentleman was just leaving. Dante nodded once, his gaze fixing on Marcus with unmistakable menace. Would you like me to escort him out? Marcus looked between Victoria, Dante, and the growing number of well-dressed individuals who seemed to be closing in around them. For the first time since Maya had known him, Marcus appeared genuinely afraid. This isn't over, Marcus said, trying to salvage what remained of his dignity, but his voice shook slightly, and he stepped back from Victoria's grip. Yes, Victoria said with finality. It is. Maya watched in amazement as Marcus, the man who had terrorized and controlled her for months, turned and walked away without another word. She felt a surge of gratitude toward this mysterious Victoria, mixed with growing curiosity about who exactly had come to her rescue. Thank you, Maya said once Marcus had disappeared into the crowd. I can't tell you how much that meant to me. Victoria studied her with those penetrating gray eyes. You're welcome, though I have to say, using a stranger as your exit strategy was either very brave or very foolish. Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks again. Probably more foolish than brave. I'm Maya, by the way. Maya Chen. I gathered as much, Victoria replied, with what might have been the ghost of a smile. Tell me, Maya Chen, what made you think kissing a complete stranger was your best option? Maya looked around the club, noticing how the crowd seemed to give Victoria and her associates a respectful distance. I was desperate, she admitted. Marcus has been stalking me for months. He won't accept that we're over. When I saw you standing here, you looked powerful, like someone who could handle anything. Powerful, Victoria repeated, seeming to taste the word. That's one way to put it. Dante appeared at Victoria's elbow. Ms. Castellano, we should probably... In a moment, Victoria said without looking at him. Her attention remained fixed on Maya. You said he's been stalking you. For months? Maya nodded, surprised by the genuine concern she heard in Victoria's voice. He installed tracking software on my phone, follows me to work, shows up at my apartment uninvited. I've tried everything, reasoning with him, threatening him, even filing a police report. Nothing works. Victoria's expression darkened. Men like that don't respond to conventional deterrence, she said quietly. They only understand one language. What language is that? Maya asked. Though something in Victoria's tone made her both want to know and fear the answer. Victoria's gray eyes met hers, and Maya saw something dangerous flicker in their depths. Power, Victoria said simply. Real power. As if summoned by her words, more men in expensive suits materialized around them. Maya began to realize that Victoria wasn't just confident or wealthy. She was someone who commanded genuine fear and respect. The way people looked at her, the way they moved around her, spoke of influence that went far beyond normal social dynamics. Who are you? Maya whispered, though part of her already suspected the answer would change everything. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, studying Maya's face as if making a crucial decision. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely audible above the club's pounding music. Someone you should probably run from, Victoria said softly. But if you're smart, you won't. The words hung in the air between them like a challenge, and a warning rolled into one. Maya felt her heart racing, not from fear this time, but from an intoxicating mixture of curiosity and attraction that she knew she should resist, but found impossible to ignore. Why shouldn't I run? Maya asked, surprised by her own boldness. The smart thing would be to thank Victoria for her help, leave the club, and never look back. But something about this mysterious woman made Maya want to step closer to the edge instead of backing away from it. Victoria's lips curved into what was almost a smile. Because, she said, stepping closer until Maya could smell her expensive perfume. You didn't run when you kissed me. You didn't run when Marcus threatened you. And you're not running now, even though every instinct you have is probably screaming at you to leave. Maya realized Victoria was right. Despite the obvious danger signals, the armed bodyguards, the fearful respect of other patrons, the way Victoria seemed to command the very air around her, Maya found herself drawn in rather than repelled. Maybe I'm a terrible judge of character, Maya said, trying to keep her voice light despite the intensity of Victoria's gaze. Or maybe, Victoria replied, you recognize something in me that you've been looking for without knowing it. Before Maya could respond, Dante approached again, his expression more urgent this time. Ms. Castellano, we have a situation developing. Lorenzo's people are asking questions about the shipment from last week. Victoria's demeanor shifted instantly. The woman who had been flirting with Maya moments before was replaced by someone harder, more dangerous. What kind of questions? The kind that suggests someone's been talking who shouldn't have been, Dante replied grimly. Maya watched this exchange with growing unease. Shipments, people asking questions, the implication that someone had been talking out of turn. It all painted a picture she was trying desperately not to complete in her mind. I should go, Maya said quietly, taking a step back. You obviously have important business to handle. Victoria's attention snapped back to her, and Maya saw something that looked almost like disappointment flash across her features. Yes, Victoria said after a moment, you probably should. But as Maya turned to leave, Victoria's voice stopped her. Maya. She turned back to find Victoria holding out an elegant black business card. If Marcus bothers you again, call the number on this card. Tell them you're calling for me. Maya took the card, her fingers brushing against Victoria's. The contact sent another jolt of electricity through her system. The card was expensive, heavy paper with only a phone number embossed in silver. No name, no business information. What if he doesn't bother me again? Maya heard herself ask. Victoria's gray eyes searched her face. Then I suppose we'll never see each other again. The thought filled Maya with an unexpected sense of loss. And if I wanted to see you again anyway? Then, Victoria said softly, you'd be getting involved with someone very dangerous. Maya looked around at the men in suits, at the way other club patrons gave Victoria's group a wide berth, at the obvious signs of power and influence that surrounded this woman. Every rational part of her brain was screaming warnings. What if I don't care about dangerous? Maya asked, surprising herself with the question. Victoria stared at her for a long moment, and Maya could practically see her weighing options, calculating risks. Then you call that number anyway, Victoria said finally. But Maya, once you make that call, once you step into my world, there's no going back to your safe, normal life. What is your world exactly? Maya asked, though she was increasingly certain she already knew. Victoria glanced at Dante, who had been listening to their conversation with obvious disapproval. When she looked back at Maya, her expression was serious. I run a family business, she said carefully. An old-fashioned family business that requires absolute loyalty and discretion. Maya felt her pulse quicken. What kind of family business? The kind that ensures people like Marcus never bother you again, Victoria replied. The kind that has been keeping this city's balance for 3 generations. The kind that operates by its own rules. The implications were clear, even without Victoria spelling them out. Maya was standing face to face with someone from the world she'd only seen in movies. The kind of power that came from fear, respect, and violence when necessary. You're telling me this because you want me to run, Maya said, understanding dawning. I'm telling you this because you deserve to know what you'd be getting into, Victoria corrected. Most people in your situation should run. And if I don't? Victoria stepped closer again, and Maya felt that magnetic pull intensify. If you don't, Victoria said quietly, then you'd better be very sure about what you want, because once you're part of this world, the only way out is in a box. Maya should have been terrified, should have thanked Victoria politely and walked away. Instead, she found herself asking, what would happen to Marcus? Victoria's smile was sharp as a blade. Marcus would learn that some women are under protection. He would learn this lesson very thoroughly, and he would never forget it. The thought should have horrified Maya, but instead she felt a dark satisfaction at the idea of Marcus finally understanding real consequences. Months of fear, of looking over her shoulder, of having her life controlled by his obsession, all of it could end with one phone call. I need to think, Maya said finally. Smart girl, Victoria approved. Think carefully, take as long as you need. But Maya, if you decide to call, don't do it unless you're absolutely certain. This isn't a game. Maya nodded, clutching the black card in her hand. I understand. As she turned to leave for real this time, Victoria's voice followed her once more. For what it's worth, Victoria said, I hope you call. Maya looked back one final time to see Victoria watching her with an expression that was equal parts hope and regret. Then Maya walked away, the black card burning like a brand in her palm, knowing that her life had just reached a crossroads that would determine everything that came next. 3 days passed and Maya couldn't stop thinking about Victoria. The black card sat on her kitchen counter like a loaded weapon, impossible to ignore. She'd picked it up a dozen times, even dialed the number twice before hanging up. Each time she tried to convince herself to throw it away, she remembered the feeling of safety she'd experienced in Victoria's presence, the way Marcus had backed down for the first time in months. On Thursday morning, her decision was made for her. Maya was leaving her apartment for work when she found Marcus waiting by her car. He was leaning against the driver's side door, arms crossed, wearing that familiar smile that used to make her heart flutter, but now made her stomach churn. Good morning. Beautiful, he said casually, as if the scene at the club had never happened. We need to talk. No, we don't, Maya said, her hand instinctively moving toward her purse where Victoria's card was tucked in her wallet. Marcus, I told you told me a lot of things, he interrupted, pushing off from her car and moving toward her. But I think you were just confused. Probably had too much to drink that night. I forgive you for that little show with your friend. Maya's blood ran cold. It wasn't a show, Marcus. I meant every word I said. Come on, Maya. We both know you don't have it in you to really move on. You need me. You've always needed me. His voice carried that familiar tone of patient condescension that had once made her doubt her own judgment. "Whatever game you're playing with that woman, it's over now." "It's not a game," Maya said firmly, taking a step back toward her building's entrance. "And I don't need you. I never needed you." Marcus's expression darkened, and Maya saw the mask of reasonable concern slip away, revealing the anger and obsession beneath. "Don't lie to me, Maya. I know you better than you know yourself. You're mine, and we both know it." "I'm not yours," Maya said, her voice growing stronger. "I'm not anyone's. And if you don't leave me alone, You'll what?" Marcus stepped closer, invading her personal space. "Call the police again? They were real helpful last time, weren't they?" Maya's heart pounded as she realized he was right. The police had taken her complaint, filed their report, and done nothing meaningful to stop him. A restraining order was just paper, and Marcus had already proven he didn't respect boundaries. "I'll call someone who can actually help me," Maya said, her hand closing around her phone. Marcus laughed, but there was an edge to it that made Maya's skin crawl. "Who? Your mysterious new girlfriend? Face it, Maya. She was just a random hookup who felt sorry for you. You think she's going to protect you from me?" The mockery in his voice, the absolute certainty that no one would stand up to him, triggered something in Maya. She pulled out her phone and found Victoria's card, her fingers steady despite her racing heart. "Let's find out," Maya said, dialing the number. Marcus's expression shifted from condescending amusement to confusion as Maya held the phone to her ear. It rang twice before a deep, professional voice answered. "Castellano residence." "This is Maya Chen," she said, her eyes locked on Marcus's increasingly uncertain face. "Victoria told me to call this number if I needed help." "One moment, please, Miss Chen." Maya waited, her heart hammering against her ribs. Marcus was watching her with growing unease, as if he sensed that something had fundamentally changed but couldn't quite grasp what it was. "Maya." Victoria's voice came through the phone like silk over steel. "I take it Marcus didn't learn his lesson." "He's here," Maya said simply, not taking her eyes off Marcus. "Outside my apartment. Are you safe right now?" "For the moment." "Good. Stay exactly where you are. Don't go anywhere with him. Don't get in your car. Don't go into your building alone. Can you do that for me?" "Yes," Maya said, feeling a strange calm settle over her. 15 minutes, Victoria said. "I promise you, Maya, this ends today." The line went dead, and Maya lowered her phone. Marcus was staring at her with an expression she'd never seen before. Genuine confusion mixed with the first stirrings of real fear. "Who did you just call?" he demanded. "Someone who doesn't think no means, maybe," Maya replied, surprising herself with her composure. They waited in tense silence, Marcus growing increasingly agitated as minutes ticked by. Maya found herself thinking about Victoria's warning, about stepping into a world she couldn't step back out of. She was making this choice with full knowledge of what Victoria was, what her world represented. The old Maya, the one who had tried to handle Marcus through proper channels and polite requests, was gone. This Maya was willing to embrace dangerous solutions for dangerous problems. Exactly 14 minutes after she'd hung up, a sleek black sedan pulled up to the curb. Victoria emerged from the passenger seat, looking like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine despite the early hour. She wore a tailored charcoal suit that emphasized her elegant figure, and her dark hair was pulled back in a severe style that highlighted her striking bone structure. But it was the three men who got out with her that made Marcus take an involuntary step backward. They moved with the fluid precision of predators, their expensive suits doing nothing to hide the danger they represented. Victoria approached with measured steps, her gray eyes fixed on Marcus with the intensity of a laser. "Marcus," she said, her voice perfectly pleasant. "We meet again. Look, I don't know what Maya told you, but this is between us," Marcus said, but his voice had lost all its earlier confidence. "This is none of your business." "Maya is my business," Victoria said simply. "She called for my help. That makes this my business." "You don't understand," Marcus said desperately. "Maya and I have history. We belong together." Victoria tilted her head slightly, studying him with the detached interest of an entomologist examining an insect. "Marcus, let me help you understand something very important. Maya doesn't belong to you. She doesn't belong to anyone, but she is now under my protection." "What does that mean?" Marcus asked, though Maya could tell from his expression that he was beginning to grasp the implications. Victoria smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression Maya had ever seen, beautiful and deadly in equal measure. "It means, Marcus, that if you so much as think about Maya again, if you drive past her building, if you call her, if you send her a text message, if you breathe in her general direction, you will discover just how creative my associates and I can be when solving problems." Marcus looked around at the men surrounding them, at Victoria's calm certainty, at the way other people on the street seemed to instinctively avoid their group. "You can't threaten me," he said weakly. "I'm not threatening you," Victoria replied. "I'm educating you. Consider this a free lesson in boundaries and consequences." She stepped closer to Marcus, close enough that only he and Maya could hear her next words. "Disappear from Maya's life, Marcus, completely, forever. Because if I have to have this conversation with you again, it won't be a conversation." Maya watched Marcus's face go pale as Victoria's meaning sank in. For the first time since she'd known him, Marcus looked genuinely afraid. "Not frustrated or angry, but truly scared. I understand," Marcus stammered. "I hope so," Victoria said, stepping back. "For your sake." Marcus looked at Maya one last time, and she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Defeat. Without another word, he turned and walked away, moving quickly and not looking back. Maya stared after him, hardly daring to believe it was over. "Is he really gone?" she asked. Victoria moved to stand beside her, close enough that Maya could feel the warmth radiating from her body. "He's gone," Victoria confirmed. "Marcus is many things, but he's not stupid. He understands the situation now." Maya turned to face Victoria, seeing her clearly for the first time since that night at the club. In daylight, Victoria was even more stunning, and more obviously dangerous. Everything about her spoke of power and confidence, from her perfect posture to the way her associates waited for her slightest gesture. "Thank you," Maya said quietly. "I don't know how to repay you." Victoria's gray eyes searched her face. "Have dinner with me," she said simply. Maya felt that familiar electric current pass between them. "Is that wise?" "Probably not," Victoria admitted. "But Maya, you've already made your choice. You called me. You stepped into my world. The question now is how far you're willing to go." Maya looked around at the men in suits, at the expensive car, at the evidence of a life that operated by completely different rules than her own. She thought about Marcus's terrified face, about the months of fear that had just ended with one phone call, about the woman standing before her who seemed to embody both salvation and damnation. "Pick me up at 7, Maya heard herself say. Victoria's smile was radiant and dangerous. 7 it is. That evening, Maya stood before her bedroom mirror, changing clothes for the 4th time. Nothing seemed appropriate for dinner with a woman who could end Marcus's harassment with a single conversation. How did one dress for a date with someone who wielded that kind of power? Finally, she settled on a simple black dress that managed to be elegant without trying too hard. As she applied her makeup, Maya caught her own eyes in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. 3 days ago, she'd been a victim, constantly looking over her shoulder, afraid of her own shadow. Tonight, she was someone who had chosen danger over safety, who had embraced protection that came with strings she was only beginning to understand. At exactly 7 o'clock, her doorbell rang. Maya opened the door to find Victoria waiting alone, looking breathtaking in a deep navy dress that complemented her pale skin and dark hair perfectly. No bodyguards, no entourage, just Victoria, holding a single red rose. You came alone, Maya observed, accepting the flower and inhaling its sweet fragrance. I thought you might appreciate a normal evening, Victoria said with a slight smile, or as normal as I can manage. They drove to a small Italian restaurant that Victoria said was owned by a friend of the family. The moment they entered, Maya noticed the subtle signs of Victoria's influence, the way the staff greeted her with respect bordering on reverence, the corner table that was automatically cleared for them, despite the restaurant being fully booked, the bottle of expensive wine that appeared without being ordered. "Tell me about Maya Chen," Victoria said once they were seated. "What do you do when you're not kissing dangerous strangers in nightclubs?" Maya laughed, feeling some of the tension leave her shoulders. "I'm a graphic designer. I work for a marketing firm downtown. Nothing nearly as exciting as whatever it is you do." "I told you, family business," Victoria replied, taking a sip of wine. "Third generation. My grandfather started with nothing but ambition and a willingness to do what others wouldn't. My father expanded our influence, and I've taken us into the modern age." "Modernization," Maya repeated. "What does that mean in your line of work?" Victoria's expression grew thoughtful. "It means understanding that power in the 21st century isn't just about fear and violence. It's about information, about relationships, about providing services that people need but can't get through conventional means. Services like making stalking ex-boyfriends disappear," Maya said. "Among other things," Victoria confirmed. "Protection, mediation, problem-solving. We're business people, Maya, not monsters." Maya studied Victoria's face, looking for signs of deception or rationalization. What she saw instead was someone who genuinely believed in what she was saying, who had found ways to justify a life that existed outside normal moral boundaries. "What about the violence?" Maya asked quietly. "You can't tell me it never comes to that." Victoria was quiet for a long moment, twirling the stem of her wine glass between her fingers. "Sometimes," she admitted finally, "people don't respond to reasonable persuasion. Sometimes fear is the only language they understand. But violence is always a last resort, and it's never random or cruel. Just professional," Maya said. "Exactly." They ate in relative silence for a while, the weight of unspoken truths hanging between them. Maya found herself stealing glances at Victoria, trying to reconcile the elegant woman across from her with the dangerous world she represented. It should have been impossible to be attracted to someone who casually discussed violence as a business tool, but Maya couldn't deny the pull she felt. "Why did you help me?" Maya asked suddenly. "Really help me, I mean? You could have just played along with the fake kiss and sent me on my way." Victoria set down her fork and looked directly at Maya. "Do you want the practical answer or the honest one?" "Both." Practically, Marcus was exactly the kind of man who creates problems if left unchecked. Men like him escalate. They go from stalking to breaking and entering to worse. Dealing with him now prevented bigger issues later. And honestly, Victoria's gaze intensified, and Maya felt heat spread through her chest. "Honestly, that kiss wasn't as fake as you intended it to be, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since." Maya's breath caught in her throat. "Victoria, I know this is complicated," Victoria continued. "I know what I am, what my world is. I should have let you walk away that night. But I couldn't. Why not?" "Because," Victoria said, reaching across the table to take Maya's hand, "I haven't felt anything real in years. My life is carefully controlled, precisely orchestrated. Everyone who comes near me wants something. Power, money, protection, connections. You were the first person in forever who looked at me and saw just me." Maya felt Victoria's thumb trace patterns across her knuckles, the simple touch sending electricity up her arm. "You barely know me. I know enough," Victoria replied. "I know you're brave enough to kiss a stranger when you're cornered. I know you're loyal enough to try to make things work with someone who didn't deserve you. I know you're strong enough to call for help when you need it, and smart enough to understand exactly what kind of help you were asking for." Maya stared into Victoria's gray eyes, seeing vulnerability there that she suspected few people ever witnessed. This was Victoria without the armor of power and reputation, just a woman who had built walls around herself and was choosing to lower them. "What happens now?" Maya asked quietly. "That depends entirely on what you want to happen," Victoria replied. "I can arrange for you to be completely safe from Marcus without any further contact between us. You can go back to your normal life and I'll go back to mine. Or," Victoria's grip on her hand tightened slightly, "or we see where this goes. But Maya, if you choose that path, you need to understand what you're signing up for. My world is dangerous. The people in it play by different rules. There will always be risks, always be complications you never imagined." Maya thought about her life before Marcus, before Victoria, predictable, safe, and ultimately empty. She'd followed all the rules, made all the sensible choices, and ended up terrorized by a man the system couldn't or wouldn't protect her from. Victoria offered something different, dangerous, yes, but also powerful and real and alive in ways Maya had never experienced. "I want to see where this goes," Maya said, surprised by the certainty in her own voice. Victoria's smile was radiant. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure that safe and normal didn't work out so well for me," Maya replied. "Maybe it's time to try something different." Victoria lifted their joined hands and pressed a gentle kiss to Maya's knuckles.
"In that case," she said, "welcome to my world." As they left the restaurant together, Maya felt like she was stepping across an invisible threshold into a life she could never have imagined.
Victoria's hand in hers felt like an anchor and a promise, grounding her even as everything familiar fell away. The night air was cool against her skin, and the city lights seemed brighter, more vivid than she remembered. Maya realized that for the first time in months, she wasn't afraid. She wasn't looking over her shoulder or jumping at unexpected sounds. She felt protected, valued, and most surprisingly of all, completely alive. "No regrets?" Victoria asked as they reached her car. Maya looked back at the restaurant, then at Victoria's elegant profile illuminated by the streetlights. 3 months ago, if someone had told her she'd be standing here, choosing a life with a woman who commanded fear and respect in equal measure, she would have laughed. Now it felt like the most natural decision in the world. "None," Maya said firmly. "For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Victoria's smile was soft and genuine, stripped of the calculated charm Maya had seen her use with others. "Then let me take you home," she said, "and show you what the rest of our story looks like." As they drove through the Chicago streets, Maya watched the city pass by with new eyes. Somewhere out there, Marcus was learning to live with fear instead of inflicting it. Somewhere out there, her old life was waiting like a discarded costume she'd never need to wear again. But here, in this moment, with Victoria's hand resting on hers and the promise of tomorrow stretching ahead like an unwritten page, Maya had never felt more free. And that's how a single desperate kiss changed everything for Maya. Sometimes the most dangerous choices turn out to be the ones that save us. Sometimes the person we should run from is exactly the person we need to run to. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through Maya and Victoria's story. Their tale reminds us that love can bloom in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes protection comes from the most surprising sources. If you enjoyed this story of courage, passion, and new beginnings, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing tales like this one. Hit that like button if Maya's brave choice inspired you, and let me know in the comments below. Have you ever made a split-second decision that changed your entire life? I'd love to hear your stories. Until next time, remember that sometimes the best adventures begin when we stop playing it safe and start following our hearts, even into the unknown.